All right, sir. So everybody, thank you once again for coming back to another episode of the Truth Defender podcast. We're coming to you from the Lone Star State, Dallas, Texas. I'm your host, Paul Aguilar. Today, we have a very special guest on the show today. I'd actually first heard of you, Bishop, the very first time you were on the Sam Tripoli podcast, which was actually the very first time I had heard that podcast as well. It was the first time that you were on. So I heard about both of you at the same time, which is great. Without further ado, host of the nationally syndicated radio show, Global Spiritual Revolution Radio, coming to you from New York City, Bishop Larry Gaiters. Bishop, how you doing today, sir?
Brother Paul, it is such a great honor to be with you tonight in the Truth Defender show there in Dallas, Texas. So thank you so much for this great opportunity to share concerning the greatest global cover-up in human history.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, and it seems like more and more each day we need to start to be awakened to what's actually going on out there. First, before we get started, can you please let everybody know where they can find you on social media as well as your nationally syndicated radio show?
Absolutely. I am the host of the nationally syndicated Global Spiritual Revolution Radio through the Life Radio Network, 92.9 FM, 1460 AM here in New York City. And also we are internationally syndicated through the iHeart Radio Network in the iHeart Media Group, also here in New York City. They can also find us on liferadionj.com/Gators. Again, liferadionj.com/Gators. It's Gaiters. They can also follow us on social media, first on facebook.com/Bishop L. Gaiters. That's Bishop L. Gaiters, Gaiters. Last but never least, they can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Bishop L. Gaiters, @Bishop L. Gaiters. So, and also they can follow us on YouTube as well. They can subscribe to our official YouTube channel at Global Spiritual Revolution Radio. Again, Global Spiritual Revolution Radio, and they can receive weekly up-to-date teachings, not only from the Bishop and from my radio show, but also all of my guest appearances on radio platforms and podcasts all over the world. So really excited to getting into this powerful topic tonight. Absolutely.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I actually heard your show that you did, I believe it was Friday with Pastor Kesterson.
Yes.
That was a great one as well. I absolutely loved that one. Yeah, it was a great topic. It was a great show. Yeah, so I guess we can start off. So we're coming off the heels of another incident that came about on Friday in Atlanta, where they started rioting again as well. They even went after the establishment that the gentleman was murdered at or killed at. So they burned down that Wendy's, which was, I have no idea why they felt that that establishment had anything to do with it. But nonetheless, that happened. So, I mean, you see across the nation right now in Minneapolis, they've actually gone through with actually disbanding their police force. And then you see other cities around the country that are probably trying to follow suit as well. You see the whole defund the police thing, which if anybody's actually familiar with any kind of history whatsoever, 1933, Hitler actually appointed Hermann Göring Minister of the Interior, where his first orders were actually to defund and eliminate the police, right? So what they did, they defunded them, they disbanded them, so they wouldn't interfere with the brown shirts actually going out into the public, looting, rioting, sometimes murdering, and there was no police anywhere to be seen. And then they actually replaced the police force with community policing, whatever that means, which is actually what you see now, what they're trying to do here as well. And it's sad. I mean, most of the people out there have absolutely no idea that they're actually being manipulated mentally and emotionally for nefarious gains. And like I always say, we live in a time now where the devil doesn't even hide anymore, right? And It's sad that the masses have absolutely no idea what's going on and they don't see that. And it's quite sad. I mean, we're going through a very tough time in our country right now. I mean, coming off the heels of coronavirus, which is actually looking like it's going to flare up again. That's what they say. I don't know. I doubt it. But, you know, wherever however that came about, where that came from, it's obviously not man-made. That just didn't pop up out of nowhere. So coronavirus, all the looting now with the George Floyd incident, which is very sad as well. And we're not even almost halfway through the year. It seems like they're making a real hard push right before the elections to try and get somebody else other than President Trump in there right now. And I kind of worried about what's to come here before the elections start. What do you think about that?
What we are witnessing is the advent of what I call a CIA black PSYOP operation. I was on Crowdsource the Truth today, and we were talking about the paradigm of manipulation in the paralysis of emotion. And I was stating that the United States Army alone has 1,000 psychological operations throughout the earth. And so when we're going to unpack this tonight concerning the greatest global cover-up in human history, it has to start with the life of Kobe Bryant. Now, somebody may say, what does the death of Kobe Bryant have anything to do with what's going on in Minneapolis, Minnesota? Now, as a side note, George Floyd was not taken out because he was black. Had nothing to do with racism. George Floyd was taken out because George Floyd was a major drug runner. And I know a lot of black people don't want to hear that. George Floyd, just like Freddie Gray in Baltimore, was a major drug trafficker and dealer in Minneapolis, who was also a co-partner in this drug trafficking scheme involving Officer Derek Chauvin. Now, Officer Derek Chauvin, before we get to Kobe Bryant, was working as a security officer for this nightclub called the El Neveo Rodeo nightclub. Now, it's interesting that the former owner, this Dominican woman, and this is nothing against Latino or Dominican people, but this woman by the name of Mayan Santa Maria, and as a side note, the term Santa Maria means Santeria, which means Latino and Caribbean witchcraft. That's another topic for another day. She knew both Derek Chauvin, who worked as security detail outside of the nightclub, and she also knew George Floyd, who worked as a bouncer. So in order to understand the greatest global cover-up in human history, we have to begin to unlayer of what I call the compartmentalization of darkness. George Floyd was not taken out because he was black. George Floyd was taken out because he was owed major drug money by Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin was complicit, and not just in the murder of George Floyd, but the reasons behind he took out Floyd, because he owed George Floyd drug money. And number two, George Floyd was going to expose not just Derek Chauvin, but the entire apparatus of the Minneapolis Police Department. Not every cop was on the take, but most of the cops and detectives in Minneapolis were on the take with Derek Chauvin and with George Floyd, and both worked at this nightclub that was formerly owned by this Dominican woman, Maya Santa Maria, whose rodeo nightclub, El Neveo rodeo nightclub, was raided 5 times, okay, in the last 2 years. Twice by the Minneapolis SWAT division, and nothing was done because they're on in the take as well. But also 3 other times by the FBI. 5 times did the rodeo, this El Neveo rodeo nightclub that was formerly owned by this woman, Miss Santa Maria, where she swears up and down that she didn't know that George Floyd knew Derek Chauvin. She's lying. And she's lying because her club was raided 5 times for drug trafficking and drug distribution. So I have a close contact within the Minneapolis Police Department who is not related to me, even though I do have a relative who is a cop in Minneapolis, but I haven't spoken to him in years, and he has not spoken to me in years. This comes from a pastor colleague friend of mine in the ministry. He's a Nigerian brother, has been telling me not only is this a cover-up, covering up the crimes of the Minneapolis Police Department, them being complicit in the murder of George Floyd because of this major, Brother Paul, drug trafficking ring involving not all, but most of the Minneapolis Police Department. But also in December of 2019, the Port of Minneapolis came upon, there was a major shipment from China, out of all places, right, where the FBI in the Port Authority had confiscated nearly $1 million of counterfeit money. So it came out today with my contact that I cannot make mention because his life would be in danger as well. He's a cop. He said, Bishop, the $20 bill that George Floyd was arrested for, okay, it was a counterfeit bill, had the same serial numbers on the $1 million worth of counterfeit money, was confiscated by the FBI at the Port of Minneapolis in December of 2019. This is deep here. This has nothing to do with racism. It's drug trafficking, drug distribution, and the dissemination of counterfeit money throughout Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, it's interesting here because you're opening up a powerful can of worms with me tonight, and I'm so excited to be on your powerful show. So to understand why we are going through, as a nation, what we're going through right now, it begins at the death of Kobe Bryant. And so Kobe Bryant was introduced to a man by the name of Jeffrey Morgan Stiebel. Okay. Jeffrey Morgan Stiebel was a quote-unquote brain scientist, okay? Now, Jeff Stiebel, who looks like Charles Manson, never graduated with an earned PhD, but yet he calls himself a brain scientist. He has an earned PhD from Pepperdine University. So we're going to begin volume 1 because I'm going to be coming back more on your program to talk about these other layers, okay, concerning George Floyd, if we have time, and COVID-19.
Sure.
So Jeffrey Morgan Stiebel, he has a ghost of a past. To understand George Floyd and the reasons why he was taken out, you have to start with Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant and his wife, Vanessa Bryant, knew the former owner of the club that Derek Chauvin and George Floyd worked at. How do I know? Because of this close contact, and I had paperwork proving that Kobe Bryant not only knew this former club owner of the El Neve Rodeo nightclub, Mrs. Santa Maria, but Kobe Bryant, when he was a player for the Los Angeles Lakers, the Lakers used to travel to Minneapolis once a year to play against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it's interesting here. So then Kobe Bryant is introduced to this man, Jeffrey Morgan Stiebel, okay, 11 years later in 2013. Now, if you type in the net worth of Jeffrey Stiebel, it doesn't come up. It comes up with Kobe Bryant's net worth, and the question is, why? So then to begin to unravel, to unpack for your powerful audience, the greatest global cover-up in human history goes from Kobe Bryant, the unleashment of COVID-19, the conspiracy of this global house arrest that we were witnesses of the greatest house arrest in human history, that at least half of the world's population, 3.6 billion people, were on house arrest because of a scam. I'll get to that. So from Kobe Bryant, COVID-19, the global house arrest, Big Pharma, okay, Kobe Bryant was in the midst, was planning to sue some major American and European pharmaceutical companies because they were not just using his nickname, the Black Mamba. That's not why he died. Right. Kobe Bryant died because he was scheduled to go to court at the LA Superior County Court the 29th on that Wednesday had he lived. And so then Kobe Bryant, we go from Kobe Bryant, COVID-19, this global house arrest, okay, in connection to the World Health Organization, the IMF, the United Nations, okay, including the China-Vatican deal that I'm going to reveal here in the next half hour for your listeners. And China and Vatican had a major global agreement, okay, early in 2019 that gave the Chinese People's Republic of China the authority not just to ordain bishops, to choose bishops, but to ordain Catholic bishops. This makes no sense because not the 1.4 billion people in China are godless, but the government in Beijing, led by President Xi Jinping, who is a 31.5 degree Mason, okay, along with his entire cabinet, along with the Chinese woman whom Kobe Bryant met. Her name was Cindy Wenjia Mi. I'll bring her up in the next few minutes as we're breaking down the greatest global cover-up in human history. So then Kobe Bryant in 2003 is accused of rape. He is sent to Eagle, Colorado to get his knee worked on as if there was no knee doctors in Los Angeles. Right. He's being set up. And the question is that we have to ask ourselves, why is Kobe Bryant being set up? Prior to 2003, Brother Paul, Kobe Bryant had no one that was controlling him. There was no Illuminati. There was no Boul'e secret society. Now, you probably have heard me teach on many shows concerning this black skulls and bones that we call the Boul'e secret society. Now, for your listeners, if they've never heard of this term Boul'e, it is a Greek term, capital B-O-U-L''E, which means that they have been chosen by the deep state to protect not Black America or not even the rest of America. The Boul'e Secret Society, they are chosen by the Luciferian Baphomet system to protect the system. And so we're talking about Barack Obama and his wife, Michelle Obama. Okay, we're talking about Eric Holder and the late Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, who has that Boul'e tattoo on his chest. So all of these Black men and women have no connection to the masses of Black people here in America and around the world in dealing with the African diaspora. So then, start with Kobe Bryant. He's accused of rape. He goes to Eagle, Colorado. He is assigned a knee doctor to work on his knees. His name is Dr. Richard Stedman. Now, Dr. Richard Stedman is Phi Beta Kappa. So Phi Beta Kappa is the educational and the legal arm of the deep state, while Kappa Beta Phi is the Wall Street faction, and that's Jeff Steibel. So you have to understand, man, and you know this, that the deep state has many compartments and divisions and sections. So if we're going to understand why we are witnessing rioting all over the country, beginning in Minneapolis, it stems back to the death of Kobe Bryant. Because the term COVID, capital C-O-V-I-D, is a Hebraic interpretation from COVID to Kobe. So instead of saying COVID-19, it's Kobe-19. So Kobe Bryant meets this doctor, works on his knee. Now, Kobe Bryant is interesting here, and I love teaching here. Kobe Bryant is instructed by Dr. Stedman not to stay near the hotel, or not to stay in a hotel near the doctor's office. Okay, he is sent 35 miles away to Vail, Colorado. Why? It doesn't make any sense, because they're setting him up. Okay, who? Not just the Luciferian deep state, okay, but also the Boul'e Secret Society. Now, as a side note, the Boul'e Secret Society, in other words, they're also called Sigma Pi Phi. Now, they are the oldest Black Greek letter secret society in history. They were created through Rockefeller money, through John D. Rockefeller and the Rockefeller Foundation on the 15th of May in 1904 in the hometown of Kobe Bryant, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So then the Boul'es had 9 Black men, okay, from Dr. Henry McKee Minton to Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who is nothing more than a sellout. And I'm going to tell you why he's a sellout, because he was the one that helped Margaret Sanger to bring Planned Parenthood to Black America in February of 1929. And then 10 years later, in 1939, it was Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, including the other 8 Black African-American scholars who make up the Boul'e Secret Society, going back to 1904, had signed off years later on the 1939 document, Brother Paul, called the Negro Project, which was the final solution for the extermination of Black America through abortion. So Margaret Sanger, before we get back to Kobe, she reached out to the Boul'e Secret Society, because the Boul'es that represent the lower house of the Greek Parliament today, going back thousands of years, during the days of Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates. They're chosen. So this represents the Black intelligentsia, or what I call the Black nobility today. Okay, no, I'm not talking about Black nobility families out of Europe, but I'm talking about the Black nobility of Black America is these Boul'es, okay? They don't care about Black people. Oprah Winfrey is a Boul'e. Her girlfriend, Gail Stale King, who was trashing the reputation of Kobe Bryant in an interview. If you remember, some months ago, she was interviewing the former close friend of Kobe, a Black woman by the name of Lisa Leslie, who's a former WNBA player. So then all of these questions that Gail King, who is a Boul'e, was asking Lisa Leslie, she should have asked Kobe when the man was alive. And after that interview, she got a $500,000 raise. I'm talking about Gail King. These are Boul'es. They don't care about us, not just as Black people. They don't care about you and I as Americans, because they are the guardians of what I call the global crab barrel system. Now, before we get back to Kobe Bryant, what is the crab barrel system? So the crab barrel system, Brother Paul, is a global system where the crab barrel masters at the top, Rothschild, Oppenheimer, Warburg, according to the 1954 book, The History of Sigma Pi Phi. Again, The History of Sigma Pi Phi. Now, this is going to blow your mind. You already know this, but your listeners may not know. In the 1954 book, The History of Sigma Pi Phi, which means Boul'e, okay, on page 146, Dr. Charles H. Wesley, he says on page 146, and mind you, as a side note, that book is probably worth close to $1,000. This is how the deep state does. Anything that's expensive, they put it out of financial reach. If it's a book about keeping up with the Kardashians, $2.50. This is how they think. So then, as we're dissecting the greatest global cover-up in human history, in the beginning in 1904, there are 9 Black men who created 9 Black Greek letter fraternities and sororities, okay? 5 for men and 4 for women, according to the book, The History of Sigma Pi Phi, or Boul'e. So Dr. Wesley says quickly on page 146, there are 9 knights or Illuminati bloodline families out of the 13 that controlled 99% of the world's wealth. The Rothschilds, the Oppenheimers, the Warburgs, who began and created the American the Federal Reserve System in December of 1913. In that meeting on Jekyll Island off of the coast of the state of Georgia. The Rockefellers, the John Jacob Astor dynasty, the Bilderbergs, the Habsburgs, the Sassoon family. Now remember Vidal Sassoon, the hair care magnate, he is a direct descendant of the Sassoons, and the Sassoon family, they were responsible for both China Opium Wars from 1839 to 1860, and they controlled the drug trade to this day throughout the Golden Triangle of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan, including South Korea and South Vietnam. And the ninth Illuminati family is the Lee family out of Hong Kong. Now, the president of China, President Xi Jinping, who belongs to the Masonic Lodge called the Zetland Lodge, 525 in Hong Kong, China, and his entire cabinet, including this Chinese woman, Cindy Wenjia Mi, whom Kobe Bryant wrote a $1 million check in August of 2016, though he never even met the woman before, but he writes her a check. Why? Because Cindy Wenjia Mi, along with another woman by the name of Wendy Murdoch, who is the ex-third wife of Rupert Murdoch of Fox News, Wall Street Journal, okay, New York Post, and the Sky News Network out of the UK and Australia. So getting back to these 9 Illuminati families, each Illuminati family, this gets crazy, each one is assigned a Black Greek letter, secret society, fraternity, or sorority for what? To protect them. Okay. Not for the 9 Illuminati families to protect Black people, but there are these 9 Black Greek letter secret societies, okay? From Alpha Phi Alpha, they protect the Rothschilds. Kappa Alpha Psi, they protect the Oppenheimers. Omega Psi Phi, they protect the Warburgs. Phi Beta Sigma, they protect the Rockefellers. Lambda Phi Theta, they protect the John Jacob Astor dynasty. Alpha Kappa Alpha, they protect the Bilderbergs. And Delta Sigma Theta, they protect the Habsburgs. Zeta Phi Beta, they protect the Sassoon family. And last but never least, Sigma Gamma Rho, they protect the Lee dynasty. What am I saying? It is these 9 Black Greek letter secret societies that are under the umbrella of the Boul'e Secret Society, or Sigma Pi Phi. Louis Farrakhan is a Boul'e. Louis Farrakhan was inducted into Omega Psi Phi earlier this year. He preaches against the Masonic Order. He preaches against Black secret societies, but now Louis Farrakhan is a part of the same system that he's trying to expose. Jesse Jackson is a Boul'e. Reverend Al Vitamin B Deficient Shopton is a Boul'e. If it's Black on Black crime, you don't see him marching, no pillaging or plundering a property. If it's a white guy, not even knowing the reasons why George Floyd was taken out, but this is the psyop of the sick psychology of not just America, but most of Black Americans, because they're suffering from what I call neuroplasticity. Now, what is neuroplasticity? Neuroplasticity is a mental psychological psyop that the human brain, Brother Paul, grows into the shape in the form of what the individual is thinking at that moment. So slavery, though it was legally abolished in 1863 during the Emancipation Proclamation, and 2 years later in 1865 through the ratification of the 13th Amendment. But psychologically, man of God, slavery was not abolished. Psychologically, slavery has only been redesigned through the Boul'e. as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. And so, again, to understand George Floyd, Minneapolis, we have to go back to the Boul'es, because the crab barrel, who owns the crab barrel? The Rothschilds, the Oppenheimers, the Rockefellers. Now, the reason why Kobe was taken out, he was not only going to expose the global American and the global pharmaceutical industrial complex, because he was set to testify on that Wednesday, the 29th, that many of the most powerful pharmaceutical entities in this country and around the world have been lacing the weight loss pills with opioid addictive substances, using his nickname, the Black Mamba. So then in 2013, Kobe is introduced to Jeff Steibel. 3 years later, in 2016, they create what they call the Bryant Steibel Venture Capital Fund. Again, the Bryant Steibel Venture Capital Fund, as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. Now, as a quick side note, Jeff Steibel, Kobe Bryant's so-called friend and business partner, knew the late Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein knew not only Jeffrey Morgan Steibel, but Jeff Epstein knew Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant, along with Jeffrey Epstein and Jeff Steibel, sat on the Lifeboat Foundation, okay? The Lifeboat Foundation, which was created by Eric Klein. So Eric Klein, whose family has close ties to Israeli Mossad in Israel. So Eric Klein made his millions on Wall Street. He's a part of Kappa Beta Phi, the Wall Street faction of the deep state. So Eric Klein, before he created Lifeboat Foundation, had made his millions on Wall Street during the 1990s, moves out to Las Vegas in the early part of the 2000s, and he meets a former Mossad agent by the name of Moshe Greenspan, capital M-O-S-H-E, Greenspan. No relation to Alan Greenspan, the former chairman of the Fed. So then, these two gentlemen, Eric Klein and more specifically, Moshe Greenspan, create a powerful corporation called, and this is powerful here, called Church X, capital C-H-U-R-I-X. Wait a minute now. So they not only create Church X, but they first create Phase 6, capital F-A-C-E, 6, the number 6, or S-I-X LLC. So Phase 6 and Church X, they specialize in facial recognition software and global simulation. Now remember Event 201 that happened here in New York City in October of 2019, which was an exercise in preparing for COVID-19. Again, these are some devils here as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. Now back to Kobe Bryant here. And so in 2016, his company, and it's not Jeffrey Steibel's, because Jeff Steibel didn't put up a dime. It was Kobe Bryant's money. He put up $100 million, okay? And now, after Kobe has died or was assassinated, Jeffrey Morgan Steibel now runs the Bryant Steibel Mutual Capital Fund. What 10 other companies Jeff Steibel took over, because 8 of these companies where the CEOs had died. The other 2 had resigned. And so it's a pattern here. It's a replication as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. So then, now remember, as we stopped there in 2016 with Kobe Bryant, where he's here in Wall Street at the stock exchange, him and Jeffrey Morgan Steibel, where the Bryant Steibel Venture Capital Fund goes public through their initial public offering. Now stop right there. Keep a mentor paperclip there in the year 2016. Now you go back to the year 2006. Here's COVID-19. There's a pharmaceutical company out of Emeryville, California, by the name of the Chiron Corporation Group, Chiron. Now, if you go to NIH.gov, which means the National Institutes of Health, where you have a lot of little Tony Midget Fauci, he runs the NIH, but also the National Institutes for Health for Infectious Diseases. So then, in 2006, Chiron had created, according to the NIH.gov's website, type in NIH.gov on the upper right-hand corner and type in Chiron, capital C-H-I-R-O-N, where they created the first 10 pathogens or strands of COVID 1 through 10. I haven't got the 19 yet. So then COVID 1 through 10 and the coronavirus has 10 proteins, 10 pathogens, and 10 strands that make up the coronavirus or COVID-19, which we call it today, a part of the severe acute respiratory family or SARS. So Chiron creates the first 10 pathogens. The company, the Chiron Corporation, is sold to Novartis AG Group out of Basel, Switzerland for $5.7 billion. Wow. So Novartis did not want, in actuality, Chiron, they wanted the pathogens, notice, of COVID 1 through 10. So in 2006, the Novartis AG Group, one of the top 5 most powerful, financially productive pharmaceutical companies on this earth, purchased Chiron for $5.7 billion, including COVID 1 through 10. And as a side note, Novartis owns also a 33% stake. There's your number 33 for your Masonic students, the 33 degrees within the global Masonic order. So then Novartis owns a 33% stake in the Hoffmann LaRouche pharmaceutical company out of Basel, Switzerland, where Hoffmann and LaRouche, under the guidance of Novartis, they specialize in the creation of bio and chemical weapons, and also in the creation of the vaccines that take away the bio and the chemical weapons. This is wicked, as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. So then Novartis here, and this laying the foundation that would bring us up to George Floyd. So then Novartis, now going back to 2006, they became the property right owners of the coronavirus pathogens 1 through 10, where every pathogen, every protein, every strand has both an application number and a patent number. This is how sophisticated darkness is. Now, the Novartis AG Group owns 2,500 subsidiary pharmaceutical companies throughout the world, 3 of which were being sued by Kobe Bryant. The NSAID Therapeutic Corporation, capital INSYS, the Acorn Pharmaceutical Corporation, capital AKORM, and High Tech Pharmaceuticals out of Lacrosse, Georgia. Now, the man that's in prison today because he was lacing the weight loss pills of NSAID, Acorn, and High Tech, his name is John Kapoor, a billionaire who is serving a 66-month prison sentence for lacing his weight loss pills with opioid substances. So he was sent to prison 3 weeks before the death of Kobe Bryant. But he put in charge of the 3 companies that he formerly owned, NSAID, Acorn, and High Tech Pharmaceuticals out of Lacrosse, Georgia. His name is Jared Wheat. Well, Kobe was going to expose both John Kapoor and Jared Wheat on that Wednesday, the 29th of January, had he lived. Jared Wheat is presently under indictment by both the FBI and the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission. Why? Because he's under indictment, Jared Wheat is, by the FBI, okay? Because he's lacing his weight loss pills with opioid substances, just like his former boss, John Kapoor, who's serving a 66-month prison sentence. But also, Jared Wheat is under indictment by and through the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, because of insider trading. So Kobe is going to expose not just the 3 companies out of the 2,500 that are owned by Novartis, the NSAID Therapeutic Corporation, Acorn, and High-Tech Pharmaceuticals, but Kobe Bryant was going to expose the entire apparatus of the American pharmaceutical industry of being complicit in lacing not just weight loss pills with opioid addictive substances, but all of the pills, about 80%. That's why Kobe Bryant was taken out, among other things. As we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. Also, there was another pharmaceutical company that was on the legal docket for Kobe to expose. That company is called Apotex, out of Toronto, Canada. Now, if you remember back in December 2017, there was a couple by the name of Barry and Honey Sherman who were found strangled in their home in December 2017. Why? Because they had cheated, they had stolen through a drug, through patent infringement. Okay, and this drug treated people for Parkinson's diseases, and this drug is called Azilect, capital A-Z-I-L-E-C-T. Well, they cheated. The Barry and Honey Sherman had sent a honey trap, a woman, a high executive woman from Apotex in Toronto, over to Tel Aviv, Israel, to seduce a high-ranking executive of the Teva pharmaceutical industries in Tel Aviv, in order to steal, through patent copyright infringement, the patent for Azilect, which would make the Shermans billionaires. So who owns and runs Teva? Israeli Mossad. Oh man, so it gets deeper now. So Kobe was going to expose this because he was close to the Shermans, including Kobe was going to expose not just NSAID and Acorn and High-Tech Pharmaceuticals out of La Crosse, Georgia, but he was going to expose Teva and them being complicit in the murder of Barry and Honey Sherman. This is a part of the greatest global cover-up in human history. And the Israeli Mossad is the Israeli intelligence agency that is the Israeli equivalent of the American CIA. Right. So then from 2006 to 2013, Kobe Bryant is introduced to Jeff Steinberg. 3 years later, in 2016, the Bryant Steinberg Venture Capital Fund goes public. It gets deeper now here, man of God, as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. If I'm going too fast, slow me down because I get on the road here.
No, yeah, so, we're on the same train here. We're going.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the greatest global cover-up in human history. So then, as we move forward to 2016, again, so by this time, the Novartis AG group owns pathogens, proteins, and strands COVID-1 through 10. Now, as we go from 2016 to 2018, the Pirbright Institute out of England, that is ran by the British MI6, which is the British equivalent of the American CIA. In 2018, with billions of dollars through the Bill and Melinda Robin Williams Gates Foundation, they supplied billions of dollars to Pirbright in 2018 to create pathogens COVID-11 to 18. You see where this is going. Yes. So the Novartis own pathogens 1 through 10, COVID 1 through 10. Now the Pirbright Institute, with the financial backing through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and your listeners can go to the European Patent Office, or the EPO, out of Munich, Germany, because the European Patent Office was founded, okay, by East German intelligence called the Stasi. And this was years before the fall of the Berlin Wall. So the European Patent Office was founded by East German intelligence in 1977 and still located to this day in Munich, Germany. So the EPO in Munich, Germany, they not only have on file pathogens 1 through 10 of the coronavirus, but also they have the paperwork for the application number and the patent numbers of COVID 11 to 18, which Pirbright owned at that time. Now, that same year, GlaxoSmithKline, out of the United Kingdom, buys the Novartis AG group for $13 billion. Now, GlaxoSmithKline also, the following month, there in 2018, buys an 80% stake in the Pirbright Institute. So now GlaxoSmithKline owns all 18 proteins, all 18 pathogens, and all 18 strands of COVID 1 through 18. Now, it gets even more deeper here as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. So in 2018, GlaxoSmithKline buys Novartis for $13 billion. And they also now, at that time in 2018, GlaxoSmithKline, that is ran by British intelligence, MI6, they own, at that time in 2018, pathogens 1 through 10, COVID 1 through 10, from Novartis AG, whom Kobe Bryant was going to expose out of base of Switzerland. And GlaxoSmithKline, at that time in 2018, owned pathogens COVID 11 to 18, with the financial backing of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation through Pirbright. Now, in March 2018, GlaxoSmithKline owns pathogens, proteins, and strains COVID 1 through 18. It gets even deeper now as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. Now, later that year, in December of 2018, GlaxoSmithKline sells COVID 1 through 18 to the People's Republic of China. Brother Paul, you listen, God sent me here on your show. And you see, when you reach out to me, and I had to pray because I have a staff of about 25 people, and we pray, and they always, when I get an invitation, I send it to them. And many times, many radio stations and podcasts, they'll send messages to us through the Life Radio Network to have me. So we pray. And again, one of my staff members, okay, his name is Tim. He said, Bishop, you ought to go on this brother's show. Okay, I didn't know you, but the Holy Spirit spoke to us in prayer, and God says, go on Brother Paul's show. So now in 2018, GlaxoSmithKline had purchased all 18 pathogens, 1 through 10 Novartis, 11 to 18 Pirbright. GlaxoSmithKline buys both Novartis, $13 billion, and Pirbright, 80% stake, including pathogens 11 to 18 of COVID 11 to 18. And then December of that year in 2018, they sell all 18 proteins, pathogens, and strands to the Ministry of State Security, which is Chinese intelligence. That's the Chinese equivalent of the American CIA. You see how deep this goes? I haven't got to Minneapolis yet, as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history. So the director of Chinese intelligence, the Ministry of State Security, is a man by the name of Dr. Chen Wenjing, capital C-H-E-N, Wenjing, capital W-E-N-Q-I-N-G, whose two sons participated And Kobe Bryant's last two Nike camps in 2018, both in the Wuhan district of northern China, the epicenter of COVID-19, and in the Guangdong district of southern China, which is a 10.5-hour drive from Wuhan to Guangdong. So Kobe Bryant is now interconnected into this because he was invited by President Xi Jinping in 2018, the same year that GlaxoSmithKline sells COVID 1 through 18 to the People's Republic of China. For what? Now, at this time, coming from December 2018 to January 2019, the Chinese government begins to recruit scientists from all over the world. Why? Because now they need scientists from all over the world to help the Chinese military-industrial complex and the Chinese biological and chemical industrial complex through the Wuhan Institute of Biotechnology, the Wuhan Institute of Biology, and the Wuxi Pharma Tech. All three entities is controlled by Bill Gates and George Soros.
Right. And you even see like the universities that have been getting into trouble now with all the professors,
Yes.
like Harvard and things like that. All these, I think it was up to 25 last week that were actually being investigated for working with the Chinese government. It's ridiculous. We even have traders on our soil helping them create all these different things that are being unleashed on the world right now.
And Dr. Charles Lieber of Harvard University was arrested by the FBI some months ago.
Right.
He was working in connection to Beijing, to the Ministry of State Security, which is the Chinese equivalent of the American CIA. And he was receiving millions of dollars for what? He was on his way to Beijing with some vials of whatever. We don't know. See, again, you got traders, not only in our American corporations and institutions, but within the American educational industrial complex. Right. Guess who was helping from 2016 up until the time in his death, helping Dr. Charles Lieber? Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these connections, and Kobe Bryant knew Epstein. He knew Charles Lieber because Kobe did 2 lectures there, okay, in early 2019 and met Charles Lieber. And Charles Lieber was one of the professors that invited Kobe to speak. What does Charles Lieber have anything to do with Kobe Bryant? They were setting Kobe Bryant up to be assassinated. This is a part of the greatest global cover-up in human history. And I'm almost done. You can take over from here. Sure. So then, in December of 2018, now the People's Republic of China owns COVID 1 through 18. Now, it gets even more ugly here. Now, we're talking about, now, in September the 22nd, okay? September the 22nd through the 23rd, both in 2018, and the following year, 2019, September 22nd to the 25th. Back-to-back years, Beijing is the host of the China-UK Center of Excellence for Research on Avian Diseases, or called CERAD, capital CERAD conference. Well, $10 million of the money that took to host these 2 conferences back-to-back in September 2018, September 2019, 3.7 million of those dollars came from Dr. Little Tony Midget Fauci with the backing of Barack Obama in 2014. Right. These devils were preparing for this years in advance.
Out of North Carolina, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, they're saying now, the Chinese are saying that weapon, that bioweapon came up out of North Carolina. But in actuality, it came from Kiram, out of Emeryville, California. That's connected to the Central Intelligence Agency. COVID 1 through 10, and then COVID 11 to 18 out of Pirbright in London, England. And as a side note, Pirbright was created by British intelligence going back to 1914. Now, you remember during the advent of World War I, and to all of your students and to your listeners, and to your listeners tonight, many of these soldiers, the American soldiers, the British soldiers, the Canadian soldiers, Russian, they were suffering, they were being gassed,
Right.
okay? Suffering from biological and chemical weapons of mass destruction. Who made those biological and chemical weapons? The Fulbright Institute in 1914, right before the start and the advent of World War I. Now, patient zero did not come. When I say patient zero, I'm talking about the first person who had contracted the coronavirus. So the COVID-19 did not come up out of the wet labs. It came from the UK-China Conference on Avian Diseases, September 23rd to the 25th, 2019. The following month was the first outbreak of COVID-19. Wait a minute now. So how did we get from COVID 1 through 18 to the 19th pathogen? The 19th pathogen was created through reverse engineering of the previous 18 pathogens. So they took the Chinese military of state security, okay, which is the Chinese equivalent of the American CIA, through the Wuhan Institute of Biotechnology, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and the Wuxi Pharma Actech, capital W-U, capital X-I Pharma Actech, which its main headquarters, among others, is 666 Goixin Road, capital Gaoxin. So if your listeners can type in on google.com, 666 Goixin Road, capital Gaoxin, they will come up with hundreds of not just Chinese pharmaceutical companies, American pharmaceutical companies, Canadian and British and French and German, all complicit in this global conspiracy of the unleashment of COVID-19. So the 19th pathogen, which took the Chinese government nearly a year through reverse engineering and recruiting scientists, okay, and that through reverse engineering, they created the 19th protein, pathogen, and strand through reverse engineering the previous 18. 10 from Novartis and 1118 through Fulbright, which now we call COVID-19. And COVID-19 affects different people of different ethnicities. It doesn't affect a Chinese person like it does an African. It doesn't affect an African person like it does a French or German or Italian person. These devils for the past 10 years have been planning for this time, using the outbreak of pandemic of the coronavirus, COVID-19, to bring about, to usher in a new world order, which brings us from COVID-19, the global shutdown, where you have half of the world being shut down, 3.6 billion out of 7.6 billion because of a scale. Then you have the Chinese, their connection to the Vatican, because the month before, matter of fact, not just a month, but 2 days before, I want you to hear me, this is powerful. 2 days before the September 22nd to the 25th UK-China Avian Conference in Beijing, okay, 2 days prior, on the 20th, did China and the Vatican sign that global agreement allowing China access to control not just who they choose as bishops and ordained bishops, but now China is controlling the global Vatican apparatus. Then 2 days later, after that agreement, came patient zero at the UK-China conference on the 22nd to the 25th of September 2019. And which has brought us now to George Floyd. Okay, so George Floyd had, you notice on his chest is tattooed. Okay, out of chaos there's order, or order out of chaos. This double-headed eagle with the number 33 in the middle. Why would George Floyd have that type of tattoo on his chest? Who was George Floyd? Well, his so-called best friend was former NBA player Steven Jackson.
They look a lot alike as well. They look like twins. They could be twins, actually.
Yes, yes, and they look like twins. Now, as a side note, and I'm almost done, and this is crazy here. As a side note here, as we're talking about the greatest global cover-up in human history, the mother of Stephen Jackson, her name is Juliet Jackson. But the mother of the late George Floyd, who supposedly died 2 years ago, God rest her soul, her name was Judy Jackson. Wait a minute, I'm confused now. So you have Juliet Jackson, the mother of Stephen Jackson. Then you have Judy Jackson, the late mother of the late George Floyd. Now, George Floyd was 6'6.5", 6'6". But the coffin they were supposed to be buried in was 6 feet for a person 6'1.5". How does a person shrink like that in death? It means either that was not George Floyd, okay, that was a dummy or some type of a psyop operation using some type of an agent or something that looked like George Floyd, or George Floyd is dead, but he was not in the, why not have an open casket? Right. Or according to a lot of reports coming out now, that there's an attorney in Port Arthur, Texas, okay, where Stephen Jackson, George Floyd grew up. This attorney said that he not only knew the real George Floyd, but the real George Floyd died 3 years ago. And if that is the case, who is this man that died on the 25th of May? Right. We are being played, okay? This is what I call problem, reaction, solution, where the deep state creates the crisis in order to solicit an emotional reaction from Black people, because we never dealt with our historical pain and our historical trauma, because the deep state knows how to make us to react. So they create the catastrophe, the deep state, that forces a reaction from the masses of the people. And the people are going to demand from the deep state a solution to correct the problem, which the deep state already had the solution before they created the catastrophe. But see, people don't think on this level. And my thing is, wait a minute, the 80% of the buildings in Minneapolis were legally underwritten through the insurance, one of the insurance companies that's owned by Warren Buffett. Wait a minute now, this is interesting here. So Warren Buffett, okay, now 80% of the companies, and I'm done, that was burnt. They, see, the rioters, the deep state did not need to rent earth moving equipment. They used the rioters to do that. Now, as a side note, the city of Minneapolis has what they call the Minneapolis 2040 project, where by the year 2040, through gentrification, and what is gentrification? Where the U.S. government will go in and destroy homes and properties that's mostly in Black and Latino neighborhoods, in order to force the citizens out by raising the property value in the rent of brand new homes. That's called gentrification. That's why the LA riots took place. Had nothing to do with Rodney King being beat up by 4 white cops. The U.S. government, through Bush Sr., whose real name is Sheriff. So the Bush family, the Bush is not their real name. Their real name is the Sheriff family, a German dynastic bloodline out of Germany. Another topic for another day. So then the Minneapolis project, which was spearheaded by the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, who is a 33 1/2 degree Scottish Rite Mason. Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis. So through the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, he instituted a few years ago Minneapolis 2040 project. Well, the buildings that are being destroyed was the buildings that they wanted to be destroyed in order to enact and activate Minneapolis 2040. Mm-hmm. And 80% of the buildings were not only owned by Berkshire Hathaway, but owned, Manacor, by the National Indemnity Insurance Company. Who owns the National Indemnity Insurance Company? Warren Buffett. So then the rioters destroy their own communities, businesses, okay, apartments, townhomes, businesses, corporations, and the deep state goes in, collects the money. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett with this Sunnybrook Farm persona, but he's a devil. Now, if you remember, Brother Paul, there were thousands of pallets of bricks that were sent all over the country.
Yep.
That is from a brick company called the Acme Brick Company. Who owns Acme? Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett owns 80% of the Acme Brick Company. The other 20% is owned by the Morgenbaum Group in Chicago. Who owns the Morgenbaum Group? The Pritzker family. Who is the CEO of the Morgenbaum Group? Governor Jay Pritzker of the state of Illinois. So Jay Pritzker, Warren Buffett, they're making millions while these idiots through Antifa, okay, which is rooted back in the Third Reich through General Reinhard Gehlen, and the flag of Antifa was created by a Soviet socialist, fascist, and a communist by the name of Mikhail Molotov, and he created the Molotov cocktail. So Mikhail Molotov was a close political associate of Joseph Stalin, Lenin, and Trotsky during the October 1917 Bolshevik Revolution. Well, who supported the Bolshevik Revolution? Wall Street. Which firm? Kuhn-Loeb Company, Jacob Schiff, who now his blood descendant is Adam Schiff. So Adam Schiff is a blood relative of Jacob Schiff going back to the early 1900s. Jacob Schiff gave Leon Trotsky, whose real name is Leon Brostein, a $20 million check to take back to Russia to fund the Bolshevik Revolution in October 1917 in order to destroy the Romanov dynasty, Tsar Nicholas II, with Khazarian Rothschild Wall Street money through Kuhn-Loeb Company through Jacob Schiff, who now has a blood relative in Congress, Congressman Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is a member of a kids foundation in California called Little Kids, capital K-I-D-Z. Well, what does Little Kids specialize in? Physical massaging of babies. That's pedophilia, okay? And this is a part of the greatest global cover in human history. From Kobe Bryant, COVID-19, the global shutdown, the American and the global pharmaceutical industrial complex, the China-Vatican deal, okay? Including Novartis AG, COVID 1 through 10, Pirbright Institute, COVID 11 and 18 through 18, GlaxoSmithKline buying both Novartis for $13 billion and an 80% stake in Pirbright, okay? Now, in 2018, GlaxoSmithKline owns all 18 pathogens, but they sell the pathogens to the People's Republic of China, to President Xi Jinping, who then, in 2019, through reverse engineering and recruiting all these scientists all over the country, including America and the British, took the first 18 pathogens and created, through reverse engineering, the 19th pathogen, which we call COVID-19, which has brought us to the shutdown, which has brought us to George Floyd, who was killed not because he was black, but because of a major drug deal. Derek Chauvin owed George Floyd money, okay? George Floyd was going to expose him, okay? And Derek Chauvin was a drug runner for the Minneapolis Police Department, and George Floyd was a major drug runner for the African-American community in Minneapolis, and his friend, or the so-called twin brother of George Floyd, Stephen Jackson, said 3 weeks prior, before the death of his twin brother, supposedly, he said that there would be cops in Minneapolis that would take out a loved one. Wait a minute, this is 3 weeks before the death of George Floyd. How would Stephen Jackson know this? We are being played and manipulated, and because of this, the Minneapolis 2040 program has now jump-started by at least 10 years, because all the buildings that they wanted to tear down through gentrification has now been torn down and was being federally, legally insured by Berkshire Hathaway. This is the greatest global cover-up in human history. And as a side note, and I'm done, man of God. The Sikorsky 76B helicopter that Kobe Bryant died on, that helicopter was owned by the Island Holdings Company out of Van Nuys, California. 3 years prior to the death of Kobe Bryant, or to his assassination, back in January 2017, the Island Holdings Corporation traveled to Chicago, Illinois, and purchased the Sikorsky 76B from the Marmon Group that's owned by Governor Jay Pritzker. You see, and again, I'm not blaming Jay Pritzker for the death of Kobe Bryant, right, but we have to connect the dots in order for every listener to come up with the proper conclusion. And that is my teaching here tonight on the Truth Defender show with my brother Paul, of the greatest global cover-up in human history.
Wow, Bishop Gaiters, I mean, the tentacles run deep everywhere right now. You know, it's like I mentioned before, I'm not scared, but I kind of have anxiety about what's going to be coming up here real soon.
Yes.
We're not even towards the middle of the year yet, almost. You know, what's going to happen towards the end of the year, what's going to happen right before the elections, right after the elections.
Yes.
You know, it's no coincidence that all of this is happening at this time.
Yes.
There was a massive setup and everything was just right for right now. And, you know, we're fighting pretty much for our country right now. You see out in Seattle, they have that Chaz zone, whatever that is.
Yes.
It's run by a warlord now, where now they set up walls and you have to have IDs to come in. And it's basically everything they were fighting against living in America.
Yes.
They set it up on their own. Now there's drugs running in there. There's all kinds of things. They're shaking down local businesses for protection money.
Yes.
Protection from who, right? If it's supposed to be a peaceful place where there's nothing that's been going on, or nothing's supposed to be going on like there's been in America, where there's no cops in there as well. I mean, it's going to boil over soon, and something even bigger is going to happen. And it's I mean, what's happening in that zone? There's probably drug running. There's probably sexual assaults, pedophilia going on, probably, because there's no cops. There's nothing going on as well. So it's just crazy, and we're going to be looking to the future here, and hopefully we make it, I mean, past the next year or so with as little damage as possible, because something's going to be happening. Coronavirus is going to be popping back up, so they say.
Yes.
They even have another case of Ebola that's popping up in the Congo. That was when that first happened. I think it was like 3 years ago, I believe, when Ebola first came this way. It literally happened like around the corner from my house when it came to Dallas that time. It was right around the corner from my house. They had the whole streets blocked off. Everybody was there. But we'll just have to wait and see, you know, what they bring out next. But Bishop Gaiters, I really appreciate your time. Everything, all of your information. Like I said, I listen to all your shows. Every time you jump on a podcast, I'm all over it. But like I said, it's a lot of information, so I have to jump back on.
It's a lot.
Every chance I get, just to kind of refresh and see what's going on from there. But
and can I say this too before we sign off tonight? Last week there was an African American writer, a female writer out of Hollywood, who was found dead in her apartment. Her name was Joss Waters, Joss, capital Jas Waters, right? Capital Waters. Now, she was very close to Kobe Bryant, just as a friend. Nothing went on sexually, but she was scheduled to have a major op-ed written for the Los Angeles Times that was supposed to come out on yesterday, detailing the life of Kobe Bryant, and that Kobe Bryant was heavily connected to people in the pedophilia underground network. Now, she was not going to write that Kobe Bryant was involved in that. Now, there's a big rumor in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, that Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi, but there's no proof to that. So I want to be very careful. I do not want to castigate the memory of Kobe Bryant. But Jas Waters was just finishing up, getting ready to publish a massive op-ed for the LA Times, stating not only who was possibly responsible for the death of Kobe Bryant, including Governor Jay Pritzker, but also Kobe Bryant was connected to people like Jeffrey Epstein, Jeffrey Morgan Stable, Les Wexner, okay? Many people like John Brockman and Bill Gates of the Edge Foundation here in New York City, where the Edge Foundation used to have annual billionaire dinners. Well, they had invited Kobe Bryant. Now, there's no proof, no tangible proof that Kobe Bryant went to these billionaire dinners that was hosted by the Edge Foundation. The Edge Foundation was filled with men and women who were nothing but pedophilists. So this writer, Jas Waters, was going to expose names within the Edge Foundation, within the Boul'e Secret Society, right? Within the Theosophical and Thelema Secret Societies. These major people, and you notice people like Dwayne Wade, the former NBA player from the Miami Heat. And if you get a chance, Brother Paul, go on YouTube, not YouTube, but go online and type in Dwayne Wade misunderstands LGBTQ communities. Again, Dwayne Wade misunderstands LGBTQ communities. And I believe that's on the businessjournal.com or the Business Review Journal. Anyway, it shows his picture of his hair in braids in the form of miniature pyramids. Mm-hmm. The way that the pyramids were braided matched perfectly to one of those declassified symbols that was declassified by the FBI a few years ago, that the underground American and global pedophilia network uses. Why would Dwayne Wade have his hair in the form of miniature pyramids that represented one of those symbols that the American and global underground pedophilia network uses? And his son, whose name is really Zion, but he calls himself Zaya. Why? Because Dwayne Wade has been buck broken. That's another term we can get into next time. Sure. So these people have been buck broken by the system. Now, and because of the death of Kobe Bryant, the greatest global cover-up in human history, and you're going to see LeBron James and Dwayne Wade rise. So thank you so much, Brother Paul, for this powerful, powerful show tonight. And with your permission, I would like to ask your listeners, please financially support the Bishop in Global Spiritual Revolution Radio. Please go to paypal.me/GSRR Media Group. Again, paypal.me/GSRR Media Group. Again, one more time, paypal.me/GSRR Media Group. Okay? Whether it is $50, $100, whether it's $150 to $200, every single dime and penny will go towards what that will give us the financial stability to continue this global international movement. Global Spiritual Revolution Radio is more than just a nationally and internationally syndicated radio show. We are a global Christian conservative movement. I am a Black conservative. I am pro-God, whose name is the Lord Jesus Christ, pro-Jesus Christ, pro-church, pro-family, pro-life, pro-Bible, pro-Trump, but I'm anti-communist. I am anti-fascist. I am anti-Leninist and anti-Maoist and anti-Marxist, okay? Why? Because I am an American. I don't look at myself as African American because that term Africa came from a white Roman family in the Roman Empire. So the term Africa was not even the name of the original continent, okay? So that's another topic for another day. Brother Paul, thank you so much for this powerful hour and a half on the Truth Defender Show. Thank you so much, sir.
Absolutely. Bishop Gaiters, we appreciate it very much. And we'll be go ahead and putting out all your social media content here. We'll link it all in the video down below. So everybody, please support Bishop Gaiters. He has incredible information for you guys out there that you all need to hear, especially in these troubling times. Bishop Gaiters, once again, I appreciate it very much. It was an honor, sir. And we will be speaking with you again soon.
God bless you, sir. And we're going to be uploading this on our YouTube channel as well when you send it to me. And then we're definitely going to do that. Thank you so much, sir. Continue the great work that you're doing, Brother Paul. And God has called you to do this work. And I'm very proud of you. And keep up the great work that you're doing in the kingdom of Jesus Christ. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. God bless as well.
God bless you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.